Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's breaking story comes from the heart of the Middle East, where new intelligence reports are raising alarms about a potential overnight attack from Iran on Israel. Tensions between the two nations have escalated sharply in recent weeks, and what's unfolding now could redefine the balance of power in the region. Sources close to both Israeli and U.S. intelligence suggest that Iran has been quietly positioning its military assets near strategic zones across its western borders. Satellite imagery reportedly shows increased movement of missile systems and drone units, which analysts believe could indicate preparation for a possible strike. Israel's defense forces are on high alert, with the Iron Dome systems being tested and air bases fully mobilized for rapid response operations. This sudden buildup follows months of warnings from Israeli officials who claimed that Tehran was intensifying its regional influence through proxy networks, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and various militant factions in Syria and Iraq. Reports from insiders suggest that Iranian military advisors have recently visited these areas to coordinate with allied groups, hinting at a possible synchronized escalation against Israel. At the same time, Iran's leadership continues to frame these military maneuvers as defensive measures against Israeli and Western threats. But analysts argue that the current scale of mobilization goes far beyond standard defense. Posturing political observers see this as Tehran's potential retaliation for a string of covert operations that have targeted Iranian nuclear scientists and military installations in recent years, incidents that Iran has long blamed on Israel. Meanwhile, inside Israel, anxiety is growing. The defense establishment is reportedly working around the clock with the United States to analyze satellite feeds and signal intercepts. The U.S. has deployed additional surveillance aircraft over the Persian Gulf to monitor any sign of Iranian missile launches or troop activity. The Pentagon has not issued any official comment, but sources confirm that Washington is taking the intelligence seriously, especially given recent instability in the Red Sea and Mediterranean corridors. Reports also suggest that Iranian Revolutionary Guard units have begun transporting ballistic missile systems under heavy camouflage in an apparent attempt to evade detection by Western satellites. These movements align with previous patterns observed before regional conflicts in Syria and Iraq. Military experts believe Iran could attempt a limited strike designed to test Israel's defenses, while avoiding full-scale confrontation. Across Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, emergency meetings are underway. Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly convened with top military and intelligence officials to assess the latest developments. Israel's air defense network, including the Iron Dome and Arrow systems, remains active and ready. Analysts believe Israel may also conduct preemptive cyber operations to disrupt Iranian command and control systems if intelligence confirms an imminent threat. Regional allies such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are also closely monitoring the situation. Both nations have increased air patrols and heightened border security, amid fears that a sudden conflict could destabilize the entire region. Energy markets have already reacted. Oil prices spiked overnight on fears of potential disruption in Persian Gulf shipping routes. Observers point out that while Iran's rhetoric has often been confrontational, the timing of these recent moves appears politically calculated. Iran has been under heavy domestic pressure due to economic sanctions and public unrest, and escalating tension with Israel could serve as a means of rallying internal unity and projecting strength internationally. By positioning itself as the leader of regional resistance against Israel and Western influence, Tehran could shift focus away from its domestic troubles. On the other hand, Israeli analysts warn that Iran's growing missile arsenal poses a direct threat to both Israeli cities and regional U.S. assets. Tehran's arsenal now includes precision-guided missiles with ranges exceeding 2,000 kilometers, meaning almost every corner of Israel could be within striking distance. Recent drills inside Iran showcased simultaneous missile launches, suggesting a strategy of overwhelming Israel's defenses through saturation attacks. As for Israel's response capabilities, its air force continues to be among the most advanced in the world, with F-35 stealth fighters and extensive intelligence networks across the region. Experts believe that any Iranian aggression would be met with a rapid and decisive counterstrike aimed at crippling Iran's military infrastructure, particularly its missile launch sites and command centers. Israel's history of preemptive strikes on potential threats underscores its doctrine of immediate retaliation. The situation has also drawn in global powers. Russia and China have both expressed concern over the rising tension and have urged restraint. Moscow maintains close ties with Tehran while also coordinating with Israel over military operations in Syria. This complex diplomatic balancing act means that any direct Iran-Israel clash could have far-reaching implications beyond the region. Beijing, meanwhile, remains cautious but has reiterated its opposition to unilateral military actions and emphasized the need for dialogue. Despite these calls for calm, the rhetoric between Tehran and Jerusalem continues to heat up. Iranian state media has warned that any Israeli aggression will be met with what they describe as an unprecedented response, while Israeli officials have vowed to protect national security by any means necessary. This war of words has been accompanied by an increase in cyber activity, with several Israeli and Iranian websites experiencing temporary outages believed to be part of a cyber tit-for-tat. Intelligence leaks suggest that both nations are operating advanced cyber units capable of paralyzing essential systems, power grids, and communication networks. This digital warfare is now seen as a key battleground in the broader conflict shaping the future of modern warfare between technologically advanced states. In Washington, officials are reportedly divided on how to handle the situation. While some advocate for diplomatic engagement, others warn that Iran's actions could push the entire region into open conflict with unpredictable consequences. President Trump's administration previously took a hardline approach toward Iran, and although U.S. policy has shifted slightly, the legacy of maximum pressure sanctions still weighs heavily on Tehran's economy, fueling resentment and hostility toward the West. Analysts say the next 48 hours will be critical. If Iran's troop and missile movements continue at the current pace, Israel may interpret it as a direct prelude to attack, triggering either preemptive strikes or large-scale mobilization across its borders. Such an escalation would risk dragging the entire Middle East into another cycle of violence, one that could easily extend from Gaza and Lebanon to the Persian Gulf. Energy and trade routes through the Strait of Hormuz could also become targets in the event of war, potentially sending global oil prices soaring and disrupting shipping lanes connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. Experts warn that a regional conflict of this scale would have economic consequences far beyond the Middle East, possibly destabilizing global markets and triggering another wave of geopolitical uncertainty. Amid all this, Iran's supreme leader has continued to deliver fiery speeches, emphasizing the need for resistance and accusing Israel of destabilizing the Muslim world. Meanwhile, in Israel, the public remains divided between calls for restraint and demands for decisive military action. This atmosphere of tension, uncertainty, and fear has gripped both societies as the world watches closely. In summary, the Middle East once again stands at a dangerous crossroads. Whether Iran is genuinely preparing for a direct attack or simply signaling strength remains uncertain. But what is clear is that both nations are bracing for possible confrontation with intelligence activity, piquing diplomatic channels on edge, and the threat of war hanging heavy in the air. Stay tuned as this developing story continues to unfold, and new details emerge from both Israeli and Iranian sources. Every hour brings fresh updates and shifting possibilities, making this one of the most volatile and closely watched moments in recent history.